Avatar: The Last Airbender, also called Avatar: The Legend of Aang, is an American animated series created by Michael Dante DiMartino and Brian Konietzko for Nickelodeon. The show aired for a total of 3 seasons from 2005 to 2008 and was incredibly popular, for getting ratings of around 3 million viewers per episode and went on to win many awards, including even an Emmy. This popularity turned the series into its own franchise of sorts and spawned a series of comic books, its own sequels series, merchandise galore, and a less than popular movie. The show centered on a world divided into 4 nations: water, earth, fire, and air. In this world, there are people, known as benders, who are able to control one of these elements to their will. These nations live together in harmony, but then everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked. 100 years later, a boy named Aang, voiced by Zach Tyler Eason, awakes from suspended animation and is found by 2 members of the Water Tribe, Sokka and Katara, voiced by Jack DeCina and Mae Whitman, respectively. It is revealed that Aang is Avatar, the only one who can master all 4 elements, and so they embark on a journey to help Aang learn them so that he is able to defeat the Fire Nation. Avatar received critical acclaim, and its success is mainly due to the show's use of character development and story, as well as the influences it takes from different cultures and other animated shows, and their animation itself, as well as the voice acting and music. Avatar is a great example of both story and character development done right. Each of the characters start out simple enough, but as the show progresses, we learn more about them and see how they change over time. An episode that is a perfect example of this is Season 1's The Storm. In this episode, we delve into the backstories of both Aang and Zuko, the Sky Prince of the Fire Nation, voiced by Dante Basco, who's been trying to capture Aang throughout the series. We discover how Aang was chosen to be the Avatar 100 years ago by the monks of the Southern Air Temple. Aang explains that he was too afraid of the responsibilities that would come with being the Avatar, especially in a time of war, so he ran away and got stuck in a storm that led to him freezing himself in the iceberg that he is found in the first episode. Zuko's backstory is told through his uncle and mentor, Iroh, voiced by Mako Iwamatsu, who reveals that Zuko once spoke out of place in a war meeting that his father was in the middle of. The result had to be punished via Agni Kai, an ancient firebending duel. However, when the duel began, Zuko realized it was his own father he'd have to fight. He refused to, but his father saw this as a cowardice, and burned half his face off and banished him until he found the Avatar. From this, we see both Aang and Zuko are defined by a mistake they made in the past, and that they still feel guilty for. Aang hides his guilt with an overly cheery attitude, and Zuko with an overly aggressive, seemingly uncaring one. This episode really ties together both characters, and the look they share at the end that as Zuko lets Aang escape speaks volumes. Confused innocence meets confused anger. This episode was one that finally showcased the potential Avatar had as a show and the possibilities of where it could go from here. The show has been almost universally praised for the influences it takes from Asian culture and other animated series. The art style is its own mix of Western animation along with Japanese anime. The creators themselves have stated that the series takes a lot of influence from other shows, such as FLCL, Cowboy Bebop, and especially the works of acclaimed filmmaker Hayao Miyazaki, founder of Studio Ghibli. One of the main animal characters in the series, Appa, is even based on the cat bus from Miyazaki's My Neighbor Totoro. The recurring director of the series, Giancarlo Bol, claims that the staff for the show were all required to buy and watch every single episode of FLCL before development of the show began. In an interview with Nickelodeon Magazine Presents, DiMartino and Konietzko stated that the best anime balances great action sequences with humor and emotion, something we try to do in Avatar. We love all the films of Hayao Miyazaki, especially Spirited Away and Princess Mononoke. Both movies deal with spirituality and the environment in an entertaining way. Also, there's great animation. There's a lot of great animation. Despite this, there's been much debate as to whether or not Avatar itself is an anime. Some say it isn't as it's not of Japanese origin, yet others say its style is the main factor that matters. The world in which the series itself is set also takes a lot of influences takes a lot of influence from many different cultures, particularly that of Chinese and other Far Eastern ones. Concepts such as yin and yang, as well as balance in general, are regularly brought up throughout the series. Characters are also seen drinking tea, using chopsticks, and writing in Chinese. The water tribes in the show are heavily based off of the Inuit tribes, people living in igloos, a fishing-based society, and clothing made up of anoraks and muklaks. The art of bending in the series is also based off various forms of martial arts. Airbending is based off Bagwazang, used typically for defense purposes, which fits along with the air nomad's pacifist ways. Waterbending is from Tai Chi, as it is a much less aggressive style, can also be used for healing. Earthbending from the Hung Gar style Kung Fu, as it requires strong stepping and rooting yourself to the ground with your feet. Finally, Firebending is derived from Shaolin Kung Fu, a style that uses powerful hand and leg movements, is aggressive whilst also requiring a great deal of practice to perfect. In order for the animators to get a feel of how to integrate these movements and styles into the show, the series martial arts consultant, Sifu Kisu, taught the animators how to perform each of the movements themselves. Finally, the animation, voice acting, and music within the show are all key elements that contributed to the success of the series. As the script for an episode was being written, animators had worked on concepts and ideas of what locations and character designs would look like within that episode. To make one entire episode of the show would take about 9 months from the scripting process to being ready to air. A storyboard of each episode is made, then a pencil test, and finally the actual scene itself. In addition to this, the creators of the show would also frequently act out scenes themselves to give animators an idea of how they want characters to act within a certain moment. All the voice acting in the series was completed first, and the animators would work the speech into the animation. If the voice didn't quite fit with the finished animation, the actors would simply re-record lines that were more fitting, and also adding grunts or other noises to the completed action sequences. The exception to this is with the animals in the series, who were animated first and then voiced after. Almost all of the creatures within the show are voiced by one man, D. Bradley Cooper. A drawing is usually supplied to him, and from that he chooses what kind of noises he'd think the creature would make. The series also had many celebrity voice actors throughout the show. George Takei voiced the prison rig warden in the episode, Jason Isaacs was Admiral Zhao, John DiMaggio provided the voice for various characters throughout the series, and none other than Mark Hamill was the Fire Lord. However, during production of Season 2 in July 21st, 2006, Mako Uematsu passed away from esophageal cancer. As Iroh no longer had a voice actor, Greg Baldwin, a man who had been a long-time understudy of Mako and was a student of his voice, took over from him and recorded some of the lines that Mako was unable to complete in Season 2 and voiced them for Season 3 as well. A short segment in the episode, Paris Ba Sing Se, was also dedicated to Mako in memory of him. The music in the series, as well as sound design, is made by Jerry Zuckerman and Benjamin Wynn, who formed the track team. Most of the music is made up from sample library, but they have also been able to make their own sample instruments from live recordings of different ensembles. The team was also given direction as to how music is to play into the scene. Sometimes the instructions are very specific, down to instrumentation, and sometimes they give us more of emotional direction. Brian actually makes music and has a couple records out, so he really gets it. He's actually the one who came up with the idea of using a diverse ethnic instrumentation. The music style is made not to sound very Western, for being made up of instruments such as the duduk, pipa, and taiko drums. However, the track team has said that they couldn't resist the idea of using an orchestra for certain scenes. The opening for each episode has a different melody each time it is played, and this melody is usually related to the episode in some way, the Firebending Masters using a slowed down version of the Sun Warriors chants, and the first and final episodes of the show using different variants of the Avatar theme. Avatar is a show that's already timeless. It's something that almost anyone can get into, and as its viewers and fans get older, they achieve a greater understanding and appreciation of the show, being able to fully comprehend the themes they may have not been able to understand fully at a younger age. With its well-written characters, smart writing, fast-paced action, and the clearly defined style it has, it is definitely a show that will not be forgotten anytime soon.